They have been trying to go after this, like, the female audience, the forces female thing. And, the receipt that I just keep showing everybody who's still arguing on their behalf is the numbers don't lie. They're going down, and more women are running away from these feminized properties.
Those
Just
women
look
hate
at all
women.
the numbers.
That's clearly not true. These numbers.
They're watching Bridgerton.
Yeah,
Look,
it's
I
exactly.
can-
They're
Alan,
watching
show the
Bridgerton.
numbers.
They're watching
Show the
something that
numbers.
appeals
Let's
to
look
them.
at the numbers here.
And when this
These are,
shit
these
is
are
made
all of
good
the
for
Star
us,
Wars
it's like,
shows. These are all the Star Wars shows, total minutes for the first 12 weeks. And you can see on the top here, we've got The Mandalorian. The second, that's the Book of Boba Fett. The third is Obi-Wan. Then you got Andor, Ahsoka, and then here's the Acolyte down at the bottom.
no way. Is that really the Acolyte's
Andor?
numbers?
Zoom in,
I
Alan.
feel that no one's watching the show.
Holy shit.
Enhance.
These
Yes,
are-
give
these are
us the
total
leaks,
minutes.
Wow.
chat. Give us the leaks.
The funeral is at the right time. It's
Yeah.
funny
Which
too
one- which
because
one
I
is
called it
Andor?
out on my podcast after freaking Obi-Wan after the Acolyte, not the Acolyte, after what is the one, Ahsoka
Ahsoka?
Tano's show?
Yeah,
After
Ahsoka.
her show, I said, this is it. It's done. The savior of Star Wars has not been able to do anything with a character that he already had time to ingratiate the audience to. They brought her back and she's stiff, and just like all the other female representation that they've got going on that just like is like freaking not doing representation right for women. And
Wait.
and I was like, this is it. They're done. The Acolyte will be like nobody's gonna watch. And what is it? It's a third of the
No,
next
that
up?
is it looks to be about 25% of Mandalorian. Is
So
what
is it at the bottom?
Well,
Where's
no,
I
not
can't
even
read.
Very-
25% of it.
the very top is Mandalorian. The bottom is Acolyte.
And
Oh
right
my
above it is
goodness.
Ahsoka.
It's about a
And-
fifth. It's about 20% of Mandalorian.
Yeah.
From looking at it.
That is
Yeah.
bad.
Because where was the hook? Every one of those others, even though they were horrible and got worse, had something that's in there that someone liked that was proven. In The Acolyte, it's The High Republic, which no one likes to begin with, done by Leslie Headland, who no one likes to begin with, and so on and so forth.
And it's also a pattern of mediocrity, because this is what set the stage for this show doing so badly was the third season of Mandalorian, which these are original characters, by the way. People liked an original character that Disney created.
Wow.
And when it was just
Original.
one single man making his way in the universe, a smaller story, like get that right. And let's see if you can do Boba Fett. I don't know. And then they messed up Boba Fett, and then they messed up Obi-Wan, and then they messed up The Mandalorian. You had a good thing going, and you even messed that up. And people liked Moff Gideon too, and you messed his character up for some reason, so you could pave the way for Ahsoka's Thrawn, which you also messed up. It's just a pattern of horrible storytelling, which
Andor
I
was
think
truly
led the way
good.
for this. Yeah, but no one
Andor
watched it
was
apparently.
good. Just to defend
Unfortunately.
that, because it really was really good. I liked Andor a lot, and it is in the midst of all these terrible things, and nobody really saw it. But
But that's all Tony
I still
Gilroy, though.
recommend Andor if you've got Disney Plus.
But
But
I
the-
do
the
think
problem
with
is this
that,
is not-
people who started watching it finished watching it, and you can't say the same thing for the
Oh
other shows.
yeah,
The
Alan,
problem is this is not a growing series. It is losing fan base, is not growing fan base. Unlike the originals, the original trilogy, even the prequels built an audience.
This is very
Yeah,
rings of
and
power.
unfortunately with Andor, we know where it's going. It's Rogue One. There's nothing to build off of that.
Simpler, yeah.
And that's the thing. When
It'll be
the
over.
OT ended, there was an explosion of expanded stories that were able to grow in multimedia projects. But when the sequel trilogy happened, no one really cared. Rey was already like all of the Jedi, and she was like the penultimate Jedi. She didn't need anything or need any more progression. So her story was basically ended. There was nothing to really dive into after that.
Yeah,
And
well,
ever
now she
since
needs to
then,
dive into Luke's
it's
story.
been it's just
She can
been
recreate the order.
systematic scavenging on what came before, just repurposing it for Clone Wars era characters and such.
And doing it in such a terrible way, because again, one thing that makes The Empire Strikes Back one of the better movies is that Luke fails every lesson Yoda tries to teach him, and then repeats those failures when he's fighting Darth Vader. But in the end, he gets back up, he's got his hand, he's got Leia, and he's like, guess what? We're going to go rescue our buddy Han. That's showing his arc and movement and learning. Where do we get any of those types of parallels with regards to character arc and learning in any of these subsequent shows? Even with The Mandalorian, when it started off fairly strong for at least the first 20 minutes of the episode, in my opinion, it had something there. It's a lone bounty hunter who's basically the only financial support for his entire clan And it's all on his shoulders. So there's stakes there, and he's trying to learn and get better at this with his bigger job as it goes. With Obi-Wan and Ahsoka and with Andor, it's really just trying for them to have fun filling in the gaps. And I get the angle of like, we want to appeal to a female audience. We want to be able to close that gap and get as many customers as possible. But the irony is that you have a couple of existing franchise examples that did that and did that well. You have Resident Evil with Mila Jovovich, and then you also have Underworld. We know the vampire and werewolf stuff that was female led, and people liked those movies. Those franchises were sustainable for quite a bit. And yet you don't take any of the things that worked for those franchises and you don't properly apply them to yours.
Yeah,
You
it's
have the
taking
model
something
just
and then
ignore it.
twisting it. So they kind of, I did a video about this a while back examining why the spin-offs for Battlestar Galactica failed. And one of them, when they did Caprica, they specifically went out to create a show that would appeal outside of their fan base, which was to women. And unfortunately, no one watched it because, well, you weren't trying to appeal to your massive fan base already. No one was going to watch it because the ones who weren't fans of it weren't going to be suddenly interested in it just because it was called Caprica. I don't know. So it
also had
this
Eric
is the
Stoltz,
same
and nobody watches
lesson.
anything with Eric Stoltz, especially in the early 2000s.
Yeah, they did issues with casting too. There wasn't characters that anyone really connected with.
I was a fan,
and those
I
are
didn't watch
hallmarks
it
of Battlestar.
'cause it was a prequel, and why did I care when I knew how everything was going to end? And I wasn't happy with the exact end, so it was like, no, I'm good.
But it's the same lesson of if you have a huge existing fan base and then you go out to not appeal to create a show that would appeal to not those fans, not the fans that you already have, but the ones who aren't actually watching this IP or
Right.
aren't interested in it. It's the downfall of that show and ultimately led to the subsequent show, Blood and Chrome. Yeah, Blood and
You should
Chrome
be
not taking
writing
off.
for your fan base, right? You should be writing for the
Exactly.
people that are rocking with Star Wars. They're going to be here, and then you'll pick up some new people along the way because guess what? Not everybody's going to love Star Wars, but you're going to find those that do love Star Wars along the way. It's like, hey, I'm going to write this. It's just going to be Star Wars. Those that love it will love it. We'll pick up some new fans. We'll start adding to the existing fan base, and then everybody will be cool. But if all you're going to do is try to write towards some silly ideology, then guess what? You're going to lose the Star Wars fans, and you're not going to do what made Star Wars. Like, what is it that worked about Star Wars that made it popular to begin with? That's what you should be doing.
But that's what I'm saying. We're living in that world, though. Like that doesn't exist. Like, it's really, you just got to break the fourth wall and recognize what this is. They've taken over Doctor Who and Star Trek and Star Wars and every single thing they could get a hold of because we made a foothold in the culture, and they are using us to do what they want done. And we're all worse for it because the moment
meanwhile pushing us out, trying to push us out so that they can just keep it for themselves, basically.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And use it to indoctrinate, basically.
And it's very disingenuous to say that for Disney to claim that now they're trying to insert women into the stories and to appeal to women. Women have been a part of Star Wars from the beginning, in front and behind the scenes. It is just it's just an excuse that Kathleen Kennedy is currently using to dismantle the previous EU under George Lucas and just pirate and pillage those stories and make them their own, just repurpose it and twist it to their own thing and their own vision. But just, again, profiting off of other people's more intelligent and creative writing.
Which they're already doing. They're just doing really badly. Like, the Mandalorian's backstory is Jango Fett's backstory from the expanded universe that they verbatim took.
Wow.
And then they end up, I mean, people did like the idea. I liked the idea of them just taking a random ass dude and, okay, create your own character. Okay, don't be Boba Fett. Don't do anything like that because you've proven that you can't handle it at that point.